The glamorous world of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has always traded in smoke, mirrors, and designer labels, but the foundation under Dorit Kemsley is literally crumbling. In a development that has sent shockwaves through the Bravo fandom, the multi-million-dollar family estate shared by Dorit and her estranged husband, PK Kemsley, has faced intense foreclosure threats and headed toward a public auction block. What was once pitched as an idyllic, chic sanctuary has transformed into a high-stakes legal and financial nightmare. For months, rumors and legal documents have swirled detailing a catastrophic breakdown behind closed doors. According to filings obtained from court proceedings, the sprawling Los Angeles area property, valued in the multi-millions, slipped deep into arrears. Court records indicated that the home was hundreds of thousands of dollars behind on multiple mortgages, setting the stage for lenders to aggressively move forward with a public foreclosure auction. The financial tug-of-war between Dorit and PK has played out like a tragic script. PK launched heavy allegations against the Bravo star, claiming that while the family home faced imminent financial collapse, Dorit continued a lifestyle characterized by heavy luxury spending, travel, and high-end glam. Legal filings submitted by PK's side alleged that Dorit burned through massive sums on designer items and personal upkeep rather than allocating funds towards stabilizing their housing situation or clearing mortgage arrears. On the flip side, Dorit's camp and close sources fired back, painting a picture of an unyielding financial stalemate. Leaked text messages and defensive filings highlighted explosive arguments between the former couple. Dorit has openly questioned the handling of household bills, pointing fingers at PK and claiming that vital utilities and payments lapsed while she maintained occupancy of the house with their two children, Jagger and Phoenix. The toxic communication exposed a deep unwillingness, or inability, to find common ground as the bank tightened the screws. The tension reached a boiling point with a series of dramatic 11th-hour delays. Just as foreclosure auction dates arrived with high tension at local courthouses, last-minute financial maneuvers, including temporary parachute funds allegedly pushed forward by PK to cover massive arrears, scrambled the timeline. Yet, despite these short-term life rafts, the core asset remains heavily compromised. PK petitioned the court aggressively for sole authority to force a sale of the estate, arguing that Dorit's pattern of non-cooperation and extended European travels, highlighted by high-profile birthday trips abroad, proved she was completely detached from the reality of their family's financial peril. As legal battles intensify and the shadow of the auction block looms large over their former marital life, the question remains whether Dorit can salvage any piece of her Beverly Hills empire. With her future on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills heavily debated and her personal life subjected to relentless public scrutiny, this chapter signifies a definitive end of an era. Whether through a forced court-ordered sale or a bitter surrender to lenders, the reality star's iconic backdrop is vanishing, proving that in Beverly Hills, the designer facade can disappear faster than you can say, glam squad. The financial pressure cooker surrounding Dorit Kemsley has officially reached a boiling point, transforming her picture-perfect television persona into a cautionary tale of high society debt. While viewers watched her gracefully navigate high-end fashion shows and explosive cast dinners on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the off-camera reality was an entirely different narrative characterized by mounting default notices, asset seizures, and bitter legal warfare with PK. The core of the crisis lies in the brutal realities of Los Angeles real estate economics. Maintaining a sprawling, luxury-grade property in an elite zip code requires millions in liquidity, a resource that dried up as the couple's business ventures and personal cash flow hit severe roadblocks. Legal paperwork filed by creditors exposed a staggering trail of unpaid notes, painting an unmistakable portrait of financial insolvency. Rather than a temporary cash crunch, the public records revealed systematic defaults that left mortgage lenders with no choice but to trigger acceleration clauses and schedule trustee sales. The fallout rapidly devolved into a vicious blame game between Dorit and PK. Once a formidable united front against past financial controversies and home invasion trauma, the pair turned their ammunition inward. PK's legal representation argued that Dorit maintained a willful blindness toward their shrinking balance sheet, asserting that she prioritized high-end lifestyle maintenance over basic fiscal responsibility. According to these filings, while notices of default piled up in the mailbox, resources were still allegedly funneled into personal branding, luxury travel, and extensive glam squad overhead. Conversely, Dorit's inner circle pushed back aggressively against the narrative that she alone was responsible for the economic collapse. Supporters pointed out that financial management had historically been tightly controlled within PK's sphere of operations, leaving her blindsided by structural debt and mismanaged joint accounts. The breakdown in trust was total, characterized by icy exchanges, blocked communication channels, and legal maneuvers designed to strip each other of decision-making power regarding the impending property sale. For Bravo fans, the looming loss of the mansion marks a symbolic end to the era of effortless luxury that Dorit brought to the franchise. Her style, defined by oversized designer logos, avant-garde hair statements, and European flair, was inextricably linked to the grand scale of her Beverly Hills residence. Watching that backdrop get dismantled piece by piece through court orders and receiver appointments strips away the illusion of untouchable wealth that reality television so often relies upon. As the legal dust settles on the for-sale initiatives and the threat of total asset liquidation, Dorit faces a daunting transition. Whether she chooses to downsize into a more modest rental or seek a fresh start entirely outside the traditional Beverly Hills bubble, the reality star is discovering that no amount of designer couture can outrun a foreclosure notice. The glittering facade has finally cracked, leaving behind a stark reminder that, in the upper echelons of celebrity culture, the higher the rise, the harder the fall. The illusion of untouchable glamour has officially shattered for Dorit Kemsley, leaving a trail of legal wreckage and a completely dismantled domestic life. As the final chapters of her marriage to PK dissolve in real-time courtroom drama, the staggering depth of their monetary liabilities has exposed a lifestyle built entirely on borrowed time and precarious financial engineering. Beyond the foreclosure notices and the threat of public trustee auctions, court documents have laid bare a complex web of corporate debts, unpaid vendor invoices, and mounting legal judgments. The luxurious image projected on television screens, complete with rented supercars, chartered flights, and endless wardrobe updates, stood in sharp contrast to the reality of bounced payments and frozen accounts. Creditors have circled the wagons, targeting any remaining assets associated with the couple's once lucrative lifestyle enterprises. The psychological toll of this public unraveling has been immense. For years, Dorit managed to weather intense public scrutiny, including the trauma of a terrifying home invasion and repeated cast member interrogations about her personal life. However, facing the imminent loss of her home, the primary stage for her family's daily life, represents a deeply humiliating nadir. Friends close to the star report that she is grappling with the reality of having to entirely reinvent her daily existence away from the zip code that defined her identity on the show. Meanwhile, the dynamic among the remaining cast members of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has shifted dramatically. Behind-the-scenes whispers suggest little sympathy from certain co-stars who long suspected that the flashy lifestyle was masking systemic instability. The traditional alliance system within the ensemble has fractured, leaving Dorit isolated as she navigates her next moves without the safety net of a unified domestic partnership. Ultimately, this crisis forces a fundamental reckoning about the nature of modern reality television fame. The pressure to maintain an exorbitant standard of living for the cameras frequently pushes personalities into dangerous financial waters, where keeping up appearances matters more than basic solvency. For Dorit Kemsley, the forced evacuation of her Beverly Hills sanctuary serves as an undeniable turning point. Whether she manages to rebuild her brand from the ashes or fades from the luxury circuit altogether, one thing remains absolute. The era of effortless opulence is officially over. With the dust finally settling on the legal battleground, Dorit Kemsley is confronting the ultimate reality check, packing up a multi-million-dollar estate under the watchful eye of court-appointed receivers and creditors. The logistics of moving out of a mega mansion while navigating a high-profile divorce are staggering, forcing the reality star to pivot rapidly from curated luxury to damage control and survival mode. Sources close to production indicate that the upcoming season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills will capture the raw, unfiltered aftermath of this displacement. Unlike previous seasons where dramatic tension centered around petty arguments and dinner party gossip, this chapter brings an authentic, high-stakes vulnerability. Cameras are tracking how Dorit manages co-parenting her children through the upheaval, dealing with the emotional toll of relocation, and trying to secure a fresh living situation that fits her new, stripped-down reality. Financially, the path forward requires a complete restructuring of her brand and income streams. Without the safety net of shared marital assets or the cushion of cooperative funding, Dorit is leaning heavily into independent monetization. From leveraging her remaining social media clout and endorsement deals to exploring potential business ventures outside the traditional Beverly Hills ecosystem, her hustle has shifted from aesthetic branding to pure financial independence. The broader takeaway from this entire saga extends far beyond the Bravo fandom. It serves as a definitive case study in the hidden costs of reality television stardom, where the demand to project perpetual wealth often masks a precarious house of cards. As Dorit steps away from the gates of her former sanctuary and into an uncertain future, the glam may still be intact, but the foundation has changed forever. The final chapter of Dorit Kemsley's Beverly Hills saga is no longer about preserving an illusion, but about the gritty process of reinvention. Stripped of the sprawling estate that served as her backdrop for nearly a decade, the reality star is carving out a completely different path, one defined by smaller footprints, independence, and the heavy lifting of post-divorce survival. Finding a new home base in Los Angeles has proven to be an exercise in humility. Moving from a monumental multi-million-dollar compound to a more practical, secure residence required a radical shift in perspective for someone whose television identity was entirely wrapped up in grand architectural statements. Insiders reveal that the transition has been emotionally taxing, particularly as she works to maintain a stable, grounding environment for Jagger and Phoenix away from the media circus. The focus has decisively shifted from staging luxury backdrops to establishing psychological and financial peace. Professionally, Dorit is learning to navigate the entertainment industry as a single entity rather than part of a power couple. Without PK's business ventures or joint asset portfolios behind her, every endorsement, appearance fee, and contractual negotiation carries a much heavier weight. Her team has been aggressively repositioning her brand, moving away from hyper-exclusive high society tropes and pivoting toward accessible lifestyle content, fashion collaborations, and entrepreneurial ventures that she owns and controls entirely on her own terms. Within the ecosystem of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, her dynamic has also undergone a permanent evolution. Cast alliances have been permanently redrawn, and the empathy, or lack thereof, from her fellow peachholders has set the tone for a very different kind of season. No longer shielded by the fortress of a wealthy marital estate, Dorit is forced to engage in the reality show arena with her armor completely removed. Ultimately, Dorit's dramatic exit from her signature mansion marks the definitive close of an extravagant era in franchise history. While the designer, sunglasses, and signature accents remain, the foundation beneath her has been completely rebuilt from the ground up. Whether this grueling chapter turns into a cautionary Hollywood tragedy or a powerful comeback story depends entirely on her next moves, proving that in the unpredictable landscape of celebrity, surviving the fall is always the ultimate test. The spectacular unraveling of Dorit and PK Kemsley's domestic empire has done more than just upend one family's daily routine. It has forced a systemic reckoning within the entire culture of reality television. For 2 decades, networks like Bravo have built empires on the glorification of unchecked opulence, encouraging audiences to marvel at custom closets, chartered jets, and sprawling architectural marvels. But as foreclosure notices, court-ordered receiverships, and bitter asset liquidations spill out into the open, the illusion is cracking under the weight of reality. Industry insiders note that the Kemsley saga has prompted a behind-the-scenes panic among high-profile talent across multiple franchises. The unspoken rule of reality TV used to be that whatever financial smoke existed off-camera could be hand-waved away by a dazzling red carpet appearance or a staged storyline. Now, with legal documents easily accessible to the public and creditors aggressively pursuing judgments, the gap between televised wealth and literal bankruptcy has become impossible to ignore. Producers are increasingly realizing that viewers no longer find comfort in unreachable luxury when it is propped up by mounting debt and legal vulnerability. Instead, audiences demand raw, unvarnished accountability. For Dorit specifically, the path forward represents an unprecedented tightrope walk. Maintaining relevance in a franchise that trades on status while simultaneously downsizing her life requires a masterclass in public relations. Yet, early indicators suggest that vulnerability might actually be her strongest currency yet. Fans who once criticized her for being overly curated are now watching a woman stripped of her fortress, navigating the messy reality of single motherhood, asset division, and public scrutiny. As the credits roll on this turbulent chapter of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the legacy of the Kemsley mansion serves as a permanent symbol of a bygone era. The gates may have closed, the auctioneer's gavel may have fallen, and the designer labels may be packed into boxes, but the conversation around the true cost of fame is only just beginning. Dorit's story is no longer about keeping up appearances. It is about finding out who remains when the stage lights finally go out. The final curtain has officially dropped on the most extravagant chapter of Dorit Kemsley's public life. From the moment she first stepped onto the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills draped in international designer statements and speaking with an instantly debated accent, she defined a specific brand of modern television royalty. But as the legal dust clears, the auctions conclude, and the moving vans disappear into the distance, what remains is a profound lesson in the fragility of Hollywood architecture. The dismantling of the Kemsley household transcends standard celebrity gossip. It stands as a cultural touchstone for how modern fame interacts with economic gravity. The era of leasing an untouchable lifestyle for the cameras is facing a severe reality check. When the public record exposes the friction between curated perfection and underlying liability, the traditional safety nets of reality television dissolve entirely. Dorit's journey from the sprawling gates of her multi-million-dollar sanctuary to a completely reconfigured independent life proves that no amount of branding can permanently shield anyone from financial reality. Looking ahead, the narrative of Dorit Kemsley is no longer tethered to a zip code or a marital partnership. Whether she chooses to channel this trial by fire into a triumphant professional renaissance or a quieter, more grounded chapter away from the spotlight, her impact on the franchise is cemented. The mansions can be sold, the assets can be liquidated, and the cast dynamics will inevitably shift to the next crisis, but the story of how Dorit faced the ultimate fall from grace will remain one of the most compelling arcs in reality television history. The drama surrounding Dorit Kemsley's multi-million-dollar property has taken yet another bizarre, high-altitude twist, proving that real-life legal battles can easily eclipse any scripted storyline on Bravo. While court documents continued to paint a picture of an impending financial collapse, Dorit packed her bags and headed straight for Europe, celebrating a milestone 50th birthday abroad while her marital estate remained trapped in the crosshairs of foreclosure threats. This international getaway quickly became the focal point of a fresh round of legal warfare filed by her estranged husband, PK. In new court filings, PK slammed the reality star for taking an extended overseas trip with no definitive return date while their multi-million-dollar Los Angeles home teetered on the brink of disaster. PK's legal team argued that Dorit's choice to vacation through Europe demonstrated a blatant disregard for the family's financial stability, accusing her of completely detaching herself from the urgent reality of mounting mortgage defaults and lender demands. Furthermore, the custody and care of their children during this period added fuel to the fire. PK alleged in court records that Dorit's abrupt departure left their kids with family members while she enjoyed high-end European excursions, deepening the chasm between the estranged couple. Armed with these arguments, PK stepped up his petition to a judge, aggressively demanding sole legal authority to force the sale of the property once and for all, hoping to bypass what he calls a persistent pattern of roadblocks and non-cooperation. as public opinion splits down the middle, with some fans defending her right to celebrate and live her life, and others criticizing the optics of luxury shopping trips while debts pile up. One thing is crystal clear. The saga has evolved past a simple real estate dispute into a full-scale war over optics, accountability, and control. Whether Dorit's European escape is a well-deserved break or a masterclass in denial, the fallout is guaranteed to dictate the narrative when the cameras pick back up.